So I just wanted to respond to a statement that Natasha Cooper put out recently that I feel is highly inappropriate, and I'm going to be stopping it at different points and stating my opinion. I mean, these other content creators keep spouting their opinion all the time, and I always try to stick in facts and speculation rooted in facts, but I'm getting really tired of the gross and inappropriate things that have been getting said about the families, about the surviving roommates, etc. And Natasha had put out this statement in response to a post by the Goncalves family about how they were blindsided by the autopsy results being released, that full autopsy report, which that would be upsetting to any family. But how Natasha reacted was not appropriate. So let's start.
My response to the Goncalves family. First of all, I want to acknowledge that I cannot imagine the pain of losing a child. I understand why the release of these autopsy reports is emotional for the families, and I genuinely have compassion for that. But I also need to say this. Discussing publicly released documents is not exploitation.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because it can be exploitation and often is. Because it depends on how it's discussed and what's being done and whether the person that's discussing it is ethical or not. And we know, Natasha, that you are not one of the ethical content creators. I mean, you put autopsy photos of a little child behind a paywall and had people pay to see them. A child's autopsy photos. That is exploitation.
For years, I have been called a conspiracy theorist. I've been told I can't read, that I don't understand documents, I have no comprehension skills. Depending on the day, I'm accused of being pro-defense, pro-prosecution, pro-burger, or whatever other label someone wants to throw at me. But the truth is much simpler. I am pro-truth, I am pro-facts, and I am pro-justice.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you just say you were pro-truth and pro-facts? You, the same person who has constantly been lying on her lives almost every night for the last month about Nicholas Mowich, claiming that he had stab wounds all over his upper body, which wasn't true. And I FOIA'd his documents and I've shown them to show that that wasn't true. And who has lied and claimed that Kara Kernodle knew Tyson Farley, Nicholas Mowich, and that Harmier guy in Vancouver, which again, not true. Who has claimed that Dylan's boyfriend is a drug dealer, not true. Who has claimed that there was blood and DNA in the drain in the first floor bathroom, not true. Who has claimed that the blood spot on the banister was tied to the four brothers on inmate 163214's family tree, not true. Who took a photo of a crock and had ChatGPT add blood to it when no blood existed on it. I could go on and on with all of your lies. So don't say that you are about facts and the truth. And yes, you do misinterpret the documents frequently. And you claim you're for justice, but yet you get on your lives and you constantly bash the victims' families, okay? And make up stories about the victims, about their friends, about their families. So you're not for justice.
And I don't care whose narrative that supports or doesn't support.
Well, there is no narrative, and narrative should never be mentioned in the same realm as true crime because it's either the facts, the evidence, it's the reality, or the people that are making up things, the fan fiction people like you. So there's no narratives.
What I find difficult to understand is how some of these same people condemning creators like me have had no problem sitting in comment sections while myself and others are mocked daily for our appearance, age, weight, intelligence, and character.
Okay, first of all, I don't even know what this has to do with you addressing the G family about being upset about the autopsies. This has nothing to do with that. Non sequitur. But since you brought it up, you're the one who keeps showing a picture of me that was stolen when my Instagram was hacked and using it to make fun of my chest. And you call me lopsided watermelon titties. So who's the one that's making fun of women's looks and women's weight? So miss me with that shit.
If we're going to talk about respect and humanity, then these standards should apply to everyone, not just the people we agree with.
I completely agree. Respect and humanity. However, you don't show either when you're discussing true crime cases. You consistently bash the families of the victims. You do a lot of victim shaming. You lie about people that had nothing to do with the Idaho 4 murders. Nicholas Mowich, for example. Brent Kopaka, for example. You lie about the surviving roommates. You're devoid of respect and humanity, in my opinion.
The autopsy reports were not released by me. They were released through the legal system and are now public records. Discussing those records, analyzing evidence, and asking questions is not hatred.
Nobody said they were released by you. But when something like that is released, we have a duty, if we're going to discuss them, to discuss them respectfully and carefully to protect the dignity of the victims. And when you plug in the injuries into ChatGPT and ask it to put out a diagram or put out a fictional photo of a victim to supposedly show the injuries, that's not doing it respectfully or with dignity for the victims.
It is not disrespect. It is not exploitation. It is part of seeking the truth. Do I agree with every creator's approach? Absolutely not. But I also reject the idea that everyone who discusses this case is doing so for clicks, views, money, or attention.
Okay, I just addressed how it can be done in a respectful manner, and some people, like yourself, are not doing it in a respectful manner. Now, I agree. There's a lot of creators that are not in it for the clicks and views and money. For example, I'm not monetized at all on my Idaho 4 content. I'm not monetized over on YouTube at all. But you, however, will sit there in a live discussing an autopsy and then stop in the middle of the autopsy discussion to ask what percentage you are at and then say you need to go do a battle so that you can make money. That is for clicks, views, and money. And you can't deny it. You're on video every night begging for money while you're in the middle of a discussion about a true crime case. Nothing says I'm being respectful about these autopsy results like stopping in the middle to do a battle and to ask Priscilla what your percentage is at and for people to drop a glove.
Some of us have dedicated years to following this case because we care about getting to the truth and we care about the victims. And perhaps most importantly, these victims deserve real justice, not just a version of justice that sounds good, gets the loudest applause, satisfies public opinion, or fits someone's preferred narrative or motivation.
There you go, using that word narrative again. There is no narrative. There's only the facts, the evidence of the case. Now, yes, a lot of us covering this case are doing so because we care about the families, the survivors, their friends, and of course, the victims. And we saw it through to justice. Justice has been achieved. Now, for some of us, we maybe wanted a little more justice. I wanted him to face the firing squad. But life in prison without parole is still justice. And if you want to talk about caring about the victims and respecting them, when you carry on like this is a cold case that hasn't been solved yet and want to free their murderer, that's not respectful. Not at all. That's disrespectful to the victims, their families, the survivors, and their friends.
Justice is supposed to be based on facts, evidence, and truth. Not emotion, not pressure, not popularity, and certainly not assumptions.
Yeah, basically what I just said when I said there's no narratives, because it's just facts. This case was based on facts. It was based on truth. It wasn't based on emotion. And the perp is in jail now.
I am not here to defend a person. I'm not here to defend a theory. And I'm not here to defend a narrative. I am here to follow the evidence wherever it leads.
Well, that's interesting because you haven't been following the evidence. If you had, you would see it led right to inmate 163214. And you have definitely been defending your theory that there was 4 murderers and that they were Tyson Farley, Nicholas Moich, Brent Kopaka, and the Harmy A guy. So, yeah, you've been defending your harebrained theory that's not rooted in facts.
I can have empathy for a family's grief while still refusing to be shamed for discussing public information responsibly.
No, see, you're completely missing the point. You're not being shamed. You're being criticized because you're not discussing it responsibly.
Those two things are not mutually exclusive. At the end of the day, the truth does not change based on who likes it, who dislikes it, who profits from it, or who is made uncomfortable by it.
Bingo! The truth doesn't change. You're exactly right when you say that. The problem is you don't practice what you preach, and you twist things around to whatever you think is going to get you the most views and the most money when you do your battles. So maybe follow your own advice.
These victims deserve more than narratives. They deserve more than assumptions. They deserve more than conclusions reached because they're convenient or easier to accept.
You're exactly right. They deserve better than someone like you getting on lives every night and making up BS about their families and about their friends and about people that they didn't even know. What they deserve is for you to say, yes, he's guilty. He admitted guilt. The case is closed. Rest in peace, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Your murderer is behind bars for the rest of his life.
They deserve the truth. They deserve accuracy. And they deserve justice. Real justice.
Why don't you take your own advice then and talk truthfully and discuss facts instead of your made up stories, your make believe about 4 murderers? And yes, they deserve justice, and they did receive justice. Like I said, it might not have been the complete justice that some of us wanted, but he's in prison for the rest of his life, so that is justice.
And they deserve for the person or persons actually responsible for these crimes to be identified and held accountable based on facts, evidence, and the truth. Wherever that truth ultimately leads.
Yes, that truth ultimately led to inmate 163214. The facts of the case, the evidence, all show he's guilty. He admitted guilt. He is now in prison for life. Justice achieved. Now, would it be nice if he would tell us what he did with the knife? Sure. I mean, it would be great to learn some of those things, but I don't think he's ever going to talk. Unfortunately, that's just the nature with POS scumbag murderers.
That has always been my position, and it always will be.
Really? Because it sure doesn't seem like it. It seems like your position is ignoring all of the facts and the evidence. So that was my opinion on her statement she made. I think that was a wildly inappropriate statement to put out in light of a family being upset about the autopsies being released and about certain content creators disrespectfully covering those autopsy reports. So maybe look in the mirror sometime, Natasha, because the Goncalves family isn't the problem. The other content creators that call you out and try to hold you accountable aren't the problem. You are the problem. Do better.